Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Chudoyan. I'm sure by now you have heard of the death of the two cops who were shot on Friday. Let me just give you just a background of what happened. These two cops were escorted a prisoner to the ROODEPORT Magistrates Court on a routine appearance there. The prisoner, One Moyo, is supposed to be a Zimbabwean national and was facing several charges several armed robbery charges. So the story goes that, he appeared in the ROODEPORT Magistrates Court and was then escorted back into the car that had ferried him there. Apparently there were two cops involved. So they ferried him away back to Boksburg. He is incarcerated in Boksburg, so he was only in ROODEPORT for that court appearance. It would appear that on some deserted road, the prisoner then managed to overpower these two cops and disarmed them, or disarmed at least one of them of his service pistol, and then ended up shooting both of them dead. A very tragic story indeed. Another incident where we see cops getting killed. So the cops are offering a reward of about 150,000 rand for the apprehension of this alleged criminal. But it is to the other issues that I want to look. The surrounding circumstances in and around how this whole thing happened. In the first place, this is what I want to emphasize. This was a man facing several counts of armed robbery. And that by definition alone tells you he's a high-risk prisoner, a very dangerous man. Now, if you also take into consideration that he's a Zimbabwean national, and chances are he's probably in South Africa illegally. But let us just look at it from the point of view of him being a Zimbabwean national. The likelihood of such a person fleeing, especially in the face of such serious charges, is there. So the police knew, or ought to have known, that this was a very dangerous man they had in their hands. Now one wonders what happened here, because it would appear that only two cops were escorting this gentleman or this prisoner to the ROODEPORT Magistrates Court. There were no other cops. Why would such a dangerous prisoner be escorted by only two policemen? An armed robber, for that matter. We are not talking here about a man who's been arrested for drunken driving. So that is the first question that comes to my mind. Why were only two policemen involved? Now, the second issue is, what sort of car was he being transported in? Reportedly, this was an unmarked police vehicle, a sedan. That is not the way the police should have conducted it. Policemen are issued with, purpose-designed vehicles that they use, secure vehicles that they use for purposes of ferrying prisoners to and from the courts back to jail. What was the purpose of using a car of that nature without the necessary security features in place? Another thing is, this man ought to have been in leg irons and also handcuffed. How then did he manage to slip out of those leg irons and also get rid of the handcuffs? Just what happened here, such that he gained possession of one of the service firearms of one of the policemen and shot both of them dead with it. It is because the security arrangement, especially in the car, police management should have known better. In the confined space that he found himself in with these two other policemen, anything could have happened. And something did happen. But there are many theories that one can come up with here. Because the other issue is, was this man, aided by some other associates of his? Because these criminals these days work in syndicates. Did he perhaps use some of, the illegal cell phones that we have seen, confiscated from prisoners routinely? Did he use something like a cell phone to communicate with some other criminal associates of his, who then helped him and ambushed this car and facilitated his escape? That is an open question also. But the issue that I'm concerned with here is the security lapse. The system failed here. That man should have been escorted by at least five or six policemen, heavily armed, in a proper vehicle, designed for the purpose. It is not also very clear why they transported him in an unmarked police vehicle. Because you see, once he ended up shooting these two policemen, he used that very car to escape and later on abandoned it somewhere. You see, the fact that the car was not marked, did not, aided and assisted his escape. Because marked police cars are very conspicuous. So this man was able just to blend in with the traffic and disappear, and later on abandon this car somewhere. So the death of these two policemen is rather tragic. And my heart goes out to the families of the deceased. But I think here something went horribly wrong, and somebody slept on the job. Thank you.